Hello, welcome back to Blockheads. I am Calico Jack. I'm here with Mister,
I'm AC.
and we're here to talk about today to you about blockheads again, and looking at this time relationships in America based on financial stability and funding for our schools and our police right now.
I think those are excellent topics.
Funding for our police right now is a situation where they say they need to be defunded. I do agree with some of the things that you have access to too much and you're spending the money improperly. We do need better training. We do need better psychological evaluations. We do need to have better equipment as far as the cameras and the audios. As far as defunding the police department is stupid to even suggest that because that's part of your city ordinances anyway. So unless you want to retool your libraries, your state senate, your city senate, and all that, you don't want to even think about defunding the police department. The unions, the FOPs, can be stronger, and you can lobby to have better representation.
Well, let's take an example. What happens if they do defund the police and put security guards instead?
Go further.
Well, for one, if you put security guards in place of the police department, they can't really write tickets if you're speeding.
Unless you empower them to do so.
Okay. And again, unless you give them power, you can't arrest.
Unless you empower them. So you're talking about basically taking the police duties to give them to security guards, and you give the security guards the same power as you'd have an actual police officer. The danger to that is what?
Well, we have power-hungry security guards.
As well as cops.
Well, according cops, they are supposed to be more of a neutral. When it comes to writing tickets to, let's say, African Americans, whites, so on, races. I know that there are some security guards out there who are not. They're highly upon what they believe and what goes on.
But you're asking yourself two things here. Are you trying to say that it's a different mindset for a police officer as opposed to a security guard?
I think in a lot of cases it is a different mindset right now. But if they were to give the security guards power, that mindset would have to change.
Well, the thing about that is the mindset of police officers are supposed to be tested before you get that badge. That's why you have a police academy. That's why you have training. That's why you have paperwork. That's why you have books you have to read and study. That's why you have the physical agility test to make sure you can actually do the functions of your job. If these things do not apply to security guards, and if this thing is not taken properly by the cops in question, you can't say defund the police department. You can't only say have better hiring practices because things have been in place over 100 years. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the boy who just got shot in Minnesota, all of that happened in the last 5 years, okay? So how many times have cops been there when the burglar's in the back door, when there's been a carjacking and they pull somebody out or something? You can't say all the good work that police have done over the last 35, 40 years is wiped away under the situation happened with George Floyd in one state.
I agree. I think honestly, in my opinion, it's a bad decision to get rid of the police altogether. I think they need to teach. Again, with the psychological tests out there nowadays, they need to do more of that. They need to look into the backgrounds, not just the backgrounds as in records, but how the family life was.
I'm glad you said that. That leads to the second situation here. The family life and funding of your relationships. Because you have to realize one thing, people don't want to hit this on the head, but there's more alcoholism in law enforcement. There's more suicides in law enforcement. The divorce rate amongst cops is higher than any other law enforcement. It's higher than just about any other industry. So you factor that in. You're going to work to make a living. You have to pay your utilities, your taxes, provide for your family. You have to provide for yourself. And you're under stress constantly because you never know what's going to happen. So the actions of the criminals dictate the action of the cops. And if they don't want to be viewed in certain ways or do certain things to bring down the other police officers, they should act a certain way. So I believe the pressure is on our society as a whole, not the regulators of our society.
Talking about how police departments and people from the police departments have higher divorce rates. A lot of divorces nowadays are not just random. It's a lot about money issues out there. And, being that case, as someone told me before, it's better for us as when we're younger to go through classes to how to save that money or manage your money management, than it when you're young and keep going at making a course that has to be done in school through middle school and high school.
Well, you look at the situation saying this. Does that mean that you're going to have happy home because you have more money in it?
No.
And does that mean that you're going to be a good cop or a bad cop or a good security guard or a bad security guard based on your rate of pay?
No.
Because I've worked with cops. I've worked with cops who are now no longer with us and some who are still there. And they're no better than they were when I first met them. And if a cop has to be able to separate the home life from the professional life, whatever you got mad at your wife, husband, brother, cousin at, you can't bring that to the uniform when you start your shift. And a lot of them are doing that. And that goes along with security guards or anybody else. You have to have your boundaries. If you have poor boundaries, is it the cop's fault or is it the society's fault as a whole that you're hiring somebody who you really don't know? You're basically saying that he took his word for face value, he passed all the tests, he did this, he did that. Okay, here's a badge, here's a gun, go out there and protect the laws. Is that the way you handle things with the law enforcement and security?
Again, like you said, and what we said earlier, they need to start working and looking in the backgrounds. Were they abused when they were younger? That could have a lot to do in how they control their situation.
Okay. And with that little chime, we're looking at saying we're going to have to stop right now. We'll be back in a few seconds.
And we're back. Now we're going to talk about financial spending, common sense, and what to do.
And if you're talking about with police officers having common sense, talking about financials, bottom line being fact versus truth. Bad spending is bad spending. Bad judgment is bad judgment. Money has nothing to do with it. You can have a lot of money and be just as dumb, or you can have not a lot as much money and be very smart. Right or wrong?
True. It goes both ways. You're right.
And then you think about bad spending is bad spending. If a cop is spending his time not trying to apply everything he has to do to make the job work for him, for the job and the city at large, then the whole system, the whole police department should not be held responsible for that. Because money has nothing to do with it. Because you can be paid very well and still do a lousy job.
Look at our politicians.
Well, see, politicians, they rely on one thing only. And this is where everybody gets crossed on that. I even heard before the electoral college picks the president. That's not true. None of that's true. What politicians rely on is not what you are, what people think you are. And I heard that from Joe Kennedy himself. So, you think I'm this, you think I'm that, and you vote for me. Like a cop. You think I'm good because I passed your tests. That does not mean I'm a good person. Does it?
No, again, it goes back to how you grow up, too. A lot of that has to do with the values you were taught, too, as well.
But then you have to figure this thing here, too. Is there a difference in personality and manners? True or false?
There should not be.
Haha. There's a big difference in that. A big difference. Your personality is who you are, that based upon what you read, what you experience, how you feel. Just because you open a door for an old lady does not mean you're a good guy. Just because you say yes sir, no sir to a gentleman passing you on a bus stop does not mean you're not a mugger, does it?
Touché.
I mean, the verbiage is good. You say, oh, thank you, sir. You think because he said the word sir, he's a good person.
All I gotta say is D.B. Cooper. For all those who don't know who D.B. Cooper is, he was the polite guy who robbed a plane. Basically, for a lot of money. He was never found. Some money was found, but he himself was never found.
And then you have the situation where, like I say, fact versus truth. Is personality and manners the same?
In my opinion, yes. your opinion. No, it's how
Well, I
the
can
ball
say,
rolls.
but like you said, you're looking at the way you're brought up. The Kennedys were brought up with wealth, power, prestige, and they still did things that were totally horrible. So you can't say that, okay, you need to have more money to be better raised. No, you have nannies, you have personal schools, you have prep schools. That still has nothing to do with your personality.
But if you
It
think
has
that,
to do with your manners, because guess what you have to do to be in prep school? I've been in some. Follow the rules.
there is a nice saying I like to say: money is the root to all evil, and that still stands today.
That's not true at all. The fact is, money was created by man. And money was created because it was easier to do that than the transition of the notes. To transfer your services for something, we created money, currency. So money is not the root of anything. The root of anything is in that person, which is why we go into our situation with guns, knives, or violent acts. That's inside that person. If he's going to try to commit murder or he's trying to shoot up a spree, that person is going to do that spree with a gun, a car, bubble gum, whatever he gets his hands on.
A spoon.
And thank you. Our time went off, and we'll be right back.
So it's about time to wrap up. We're going to say our final words.
And we still have that situation going with truth versus fact. And like I say on that, you have to think about that for yourself. Is your personality really your morals, your ethics? Now, I'm going to simply say that that you are who you are. And you cannot always say just because you have the proper manners and wear the nice suit. How many proper murders of people have been committed murders from Ted Bundy who looked like the nice face killer? With that, I'm going to give that to you and let you go ahead and finish this up.
Ted Bundy is a totally different topic, but I agree. I disagree on some things. I agree with, just because you have a nice face, it doesn't mean you can't do evil. I also think that a lot of it has to be how you were brought up and in the area you were brought up in. That's not the whole facts on if you brought up into a bad neighborhood, you're automatically going to go kill someone.
I'm going to end up with this comment, and that's from one of my heroes, Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock said that your babyface killer has to be appealing, he has to be handsome, he has to be sexy, or how else will he able to hide in plain sight amongst the people. And with that, we're going to let that go. Thank you for watching Blockheads.
I'm
We'll be back.
and this is
Kyle Go Jack.
Have a good one.
Thank you.